Welcome to MC Podcast, aka Men of Culture Podcast, and in this video, we are talking about 10 criminally underrated animes that you should definitely watch. Here we go.
Starting off the rip, I'm gonna name the most underrated and almost unheard, unmentioned anime I've seen, and this is Air Gear. Now, this is an OG anime. Like, when I'm talking about OG, this was coming out with the big three. We're talking about Bleach, Naruto, and fucking what the fuck is the other one? One Piece. They were all coming out at the same time as Air Gear, so it really got overshadowed. But I think the creativity and kind of the breath of fresh air about it is it's a sports quote unquote anime, but it's about kind of a futuristic scene where they use futuristic rollerblades called ATs, and it's just basically gangs versus gangs and type of like a sport event. It's a super cool twist of the two. I think it's hilarious and it's a super fun anime to watch, and this is such an underrated one that I don't see anybody talking about. So if you ever want to give it a try, this is the one to do. I'm sure none of you guys have seen this one, honestly.
Next one that is really underrated and it's gonna immediately get a bad rap is Beastars. This one is a Netflix anime. I know before I mentioned Netflix, don't get mad at me. Netflix, this one is actually really good. It's about animals basically living in a human like lifestyle. It's an interesting dynamic because there's herbivores and omnivores, and there's predators, and there's a beef between all three.
There's a hierarchy.
There's a hierarchy, and it's a school life type shit. But it's such an interesting series and an interesting twist on an anime. I highly recommend this. This is really underrated. The main character I wasn't expecting to like, but I kind of fuck with him heavy. So this is definitely a really underrated anime. It has 2 seasons right now. I think a third one's coming out soon. This is definitely a must watch and really underrated.
Next on this list is going to be BTOOM. I really don't see much on this. I've seen it mentioned in some places, but this is kind of like a battle royale. But basically, the whole concept behind this is that criminals basically are sent to an island where they have to fight amongst themselves with bombs. They each kind of get their own unique bomb that they could use, and it's super cool because it's like a survival battle royale, but also with a little bit of a twist of we don't understand why the main character is there. He's kind of pitted against these criminals and all these people who've done something wrong, but we still don't know much about him. But this is a great underrated show. If you like gore, if you like a lot of action-packed scenes, this is definitely the way to go. But yeah, this is another one I recommend.
Solid. Next one on this list, a little spooky. Higurashi. The Higurashi series is a definite must watch. Make sure you watch the 2006 version of Higurashi. It's a great horror anime. It starts off nice and friendly to lull you, and then it starts to get into it. I'm gonna be honest, this one is a psychological thriller that's definitely gonna creep you out at some points, and it's really underrated. No one talks about this enough. I think this is one of the best animes when it comes to doing fear right. Even though I don't think it does a completely great job, this is one of the good ones that do a solid job overall.
Next on this list is going to be an underrated, I think, but well-known anime, which is Gintama. And I've asked a lot of people if they've watched this show, and they say they've heard of it. And I know, Khalil, you've heard of it, but you haven't actually watched it before. So it's a common trend with this show that it does its comedic value so well, and it's kind of got its own twist as well between aliens coming in during the Edo period with samurais. It's just a total combination of things that are total opposites that they combine together, which makes it such a good show. It also focuses heavily on the comedic relationship between all the characters, but there are arcs to the show where it takes seriousness and abstract matters and turns it into such a beautiful, well composed, kind of life lesson that you learn throughout this show. I think that its arcs are stand out and are almost at the quality of a lot of the action animes that are dropping now. The show's almost ending. It's got a bunch of episodes, so if you're looking for something to watch, laugh at, and be super into between the fight scenes, Gintama is a great pick.
Next one on this list I highly recommend you is Apothecary Diaries. This anime is criminally underrated. It went under the radar of 2023. Talked about a little bit, but this is not talked about enough. This is actually a very good anime with a female lead that, honestly speaking, I'm not too fond of female leads all the time because I don't think they're done particularly well. This one was done excellently. As you can guess, it's in the back in the previous historical era of Japan, where she gets basically sold off to be a slave, basically, essentially. And it's hard to explain, but this show is really good. You gotta just trust me. Just watch this shit. Just watch this. The female character is W, and she really carries the show to make it really, really good.
Next one on this list, I feel like haven't been talked about much, is Ben 2. Like, this was a good show. I think it's hilarious because it's about people going into a supermarket, and this main character finds out the fucking hard way off rip. He goes into a supermarket, the discounts get thrown onto all their stuff. As soon as the guy walks out of the door, after discounting everything, any hands are thrown, anything is possible, bro. They're gonna come out, they're gonna throw hands. It's just such a funny but like simple anime. But it's not, I don't feel like it's talked about enough. It's got its own interesting aspects of it. It's hilarious. It's cool to watch. And that's honestly something that's criminally underrated, because this is a show that's worth some talking about. And a lot of shows that don't deserve the credit get it. So this is another one that should get it.
Next one to watch is Beyond the Boundaries. This one I've watched. This was one of the first, like, I guess, romance-esque animes I've ever watched. It's a really good show. It has a lot of, there's action to romance. There's everything you want in this show. You got everything involved. It's a very, very solid series. Characters are pretty cool and interesting. And like I said, this is just a criminally underrated anime. I feel like that's not talked about enough.
The most criminally underrated anime right now is going to be Monster. And that's what we're adding next on this list. I feel like the older animation and almost the slower pace really kind of turn people off of this show when they should be kind of running to it. It's very cynical and serious and almost to the point of a thriller, but it is like on the edge of your seat type of show. It takes a little bit to take off, but like everything that the storytelling is just unbelievable. It's just a great show all in all, which is like a classic, and I feel like it's one of the good ones, and it's not talked about enough. Monster's the one to watch if you haven't.
Oh, yeah, next one on this list. This is actually one of my personal favorite animes. Top 25 probably. Parasyte. This one is criminally, really, really underrated. I don't think this is recommended enough to people how good Parasyte is. This show is phenomenal. From start to finish, this is definitely a show that you can recommend to people. This is a show that's really underrated. That's not talked about enough. It made me laugh, cry, everything. All the emotions in this anime, it has done. Like, Parasyte is definitely a unquestionable, criminally underrated anime on this list.
Next on this list for underrated animes, it's gotta be Eden of the East. Now, this show I've seen mentioned, but really not much more about it. But basically, it's kind of a weird start where the main character kind of saves the heroine. But surprise, this dude is stark naked, and he suffers from amnesia, and he thinks he's a terrorist. This is a great start. But as it goes on, you find out that he has a phone with a hell of a lot of money in digital cash. So you're really confused at this point. There's a lot of unknowns. There's a lot that's thrown out into you. But this is a show where, everything kind of unfolds as you watch it. I think this is a super cool show. It's definitely cynical, but it's definitely a show willing to watch. It's definitely got a lot of like mysteries in the veil. And they just kind of, as you go out, you just start to understand everything. So that's the type of show it is. But all in all, that's going to be our list. I think that was 11. But those are the criminally underrated animes that we think you guys should watch.
And just an honorable mention for those who are really man of culture, you should watch Magical Girls Can't Be This Cute.
No.
Criminally underrated.
Don't listen to him. Cut it out, Khalil. Editor Khalil, cut it out.
Hey, Editor Khalil, throw an evil face smile.
Anyways, make sure to like, comment, subscribe. Where our viewership is actually insane, so we're gonna thank you guys, but also we want you guys to subscribe. It's like 90% of you guys aren't subscribed, and that's the one thing we're really pushing for. So yeah, MC Podcast, we out.
Peace. Stay man of culture, people, and stay blessed up. You got it in your life.